Thank you. The purpose of the Mastermind is to learn leadership, build teams, and create multiple sources of income together.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success, as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the higher forces. One mind, one soul, one love.
Noble Goldman International is a conscious, aware, and engaged global community of abundance and freedom creators.
Our mission is to create 1 million millionaires who are free from the time for money paradigm. We focus on creating multiple streams of income through masterminding, team building, and the effective utilization of the internet-based platforms.
The mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery, where the self-transcendent shift from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time.
Beautiful. We all got to speak twice there. Wasn't that perfect? So I think, Cora, you said the same thing twice. You said it on the earlier call as well, with regards to the statement around Noble Goldman.
Yeah.
You said that a few more times. You won't need to read it, but it'll be on your brain. So in regards to, as I said, I'm just going to cover probably the next 4 minutes. What's come up is I've had a couple of people this week who have said that when I've connected with them and put their details into the candidate system, so these are people who are wanting to join the Facebook groups, the first thing we must do is check in the candidate system that nobody else has entered them. That's the first thing we do before we message them or add them to a group. And then once it's come back as success, then we enter their details in and click so they're in our candidate system, because what could happen between the time of checking if they're in the system and then entering the details, somebody else could have added them. So the problem you've got, and this is why it's so important to have a think around this, imagine being the person wanting to join the group, and all of a sudden, 2, 3, 4, 5, in this case, 6 people have messaged you, I'm a moderator, join the group, I'm just about to accept you to join the group. So how would you feel receiving that? You'd be like, what the hell's going on? Why am I getting so many messages? And I'm not saying that any of you are doing this. I don't know if any of you are or not. But it's things that this has come up for us to improve the system. So as soon as the way that I do it is I go in, I actually put the Facebook URL link to check first, success. I put the details in. I wait for it to come back as success again once I've entered the details into my candidate system. Then I go and message them privately and say, I'm the moderator that's just approved you. Then I go and approve them. Now that's the way that I do it, so that I know they're in my system. So what happened at the weekend was I had a guy in particular who I'd been chatting to for about 2 days. And then on the Saturday, he messaged me and said, what the hell's going on? I've now had 6 messages from people saying that, asking me about a mastermind, joining a mastermind call. I'm not interested in anyone talking to me anymore. Please don't contact me. Now, and he says, I'm away with my family for the weekend. So I didn't message him at all because he's away with his family. And I know he's in Canada, so he's behind me. So I waited till yesterday to contact him and said, I apologize that I'm sorry you've received all these messages. but please can you do me a favor and just screenshot each one and send it to me so that I can communicate with the people who are the other moderators and say, look, we need to be following the system to not annoy people. So it was from that space to do that. So I've spoken to Mark Santos and said, we need to improve this because people are not following the system. Therefore, my suggestion is that everybody is removed from a moderator, right?
Okay.
We start again, and it goes through a training system where you have to go through as a moderator. You watch each part as a video with some text. It's because some people don't like videos, they'll read the text. And then at the end, you have to answer a series of questions. And if it's approved, then you get moderator rights. So that's what's going to be happening moving forward. So everyone is crystal clear, because one of the people that I've been chatting to as well yesterday, he got on the call, on the introduction call, and he joined Noble Goldman. He's in my candidate system, and somebody else went and started speaking to him and said, oh yeah, you're on the call. I saw you on the call. Here's my link to join. And because it's in the system, they went and joined on that. And he's messed me this guy. He's like, yeah, I've opened an account. I'm in Noble Goldman. What do I do now? And I'm like, you're not in my system. I've got no email. And he's sending me all the data. So I contacted Mark and said, how could this be? And Mark found out the guy who did it. And then he contacted this guy. And he said, Mark said, he's a great leader. He's awesome. He's in Australia as well. And he said, oh, I've spoken to him. He actually contacted him privately and sent him his link after the call. Wow. That's happening. So
that's not cool at all.
Absolutely not, Russ. So that's where I spoke to Mark and said, it's not cool from a point of us as members as a community, but it's not good for the person receiving the link. Because then what does it create? Well, I've been speaking to Martin. This person's come and sent me my link. Who's going to do that to me?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's totally from a place of scarcity. So we know that we can't control everything. We can't control human behaviors. Everybody's individuals and they'll choose to do what they'll do. But we can put systems in place that people are clear, because a lot of people go, yes, yes, yes. And they don't know what the hell they're doing. So this is the way that I've literally just been chatting to Mark between this call and said, this is what I propose. And he's like, that's exactly what I'm going to create. So things are going to get tighter because we want to have these problems now whilst we're small, before we grow. Even with what you said last week, Russ, in particular, around the do you understand question, that kind of thing. We need to get all that in place. So I didn't want to spend too much time on that, but I just wanted to highlight that there are things that will be improved. Everybody isn't going to be removed as a moderator right now, because Mark will only do it when the system's built. But we just need to be consciously aware that we are speaking to those people who are becoming gold stars in our groups about this process, that we are to actually check first, out of respect for everybody else and the person who we're going to be messaging. So with that said, I know that I let Corey know, but what I would really, I feel would be really of great benefit for us is to, there's 3, 6, 8. There's 8 of us on the call. So let's have a minute each where we say what our business is, or what we're working on right now, and what our biggest challenge is. And then we'll have a mastermind discussion around the topic around that to help see where we can grow. So as I said, my focus is not that this is just going to be about Noble Goldman prospecting and building our teams. Okay, so we'll stick to the numbers. So share what your business is, what you're looking to grow, what is your one biggest challenge in your business right now? Mr. Farquhar.
I've only got a minute. My biggest challenge at the moment is concentrating on staying within my own lane, I suppose. I have several interests. You can see I'm sitting in a family-owned business, which is a production company in Western Australia, which is mainly run by my wife and my daughter. I'm here today because my daughter's off sick again. So I get pulled into there, and that's great. I have other multiple sources of income that I'm working on. Some I've had running for quite a long time, haven't been great. Some are quite new and are quite successful. And it's just concentrating on those is my problem. Keeping a diary of where I'm at and my workflow. And I actually had a good chat with Mark Santos a couple of weeks ago on how he showed us his diary on how he plans each day and blocking certain things, and I've got to get around to doing that. But I also have to be flexible. So it's okay, if I'm not going to do this now, when am I going to do it, and make sure that I do it and just don't park it up and not get it done at all. And yeah, they're just those things that come up all the time, and it's something repeated for me over time. And I know when I have a good week, the week goes past and I go look back and I go, actually, I've got everything done that I need to do. And something that Mark said, he said, okay, fine, let's make sure that we do things on a certain day. Put off till tomorrow what can be done tomorrow. Don't feel like you have to do everything today. If it's not going to make too much difference, do it tomorrow. If you've got that scheduled to do it tomorrow, do it tomorrow. And that's what he does. I think most of his AM is taken up with calls, and then he has his afternoon pretty much free, because then he knows, the next bit of work that he has to do, he can do tomorrow morning. And he spends time with his family, and then he jumps on the calls obviously later on in the evening as well. So it's just me getting that sort of, it's probably gone over a minute now, but just making sure that I get everything done, but still leaving me available for my family and for other businesses, and where I get pulled in there. So it's time management in a single phrase.
Yeah, great share there. I've actually changed it to 2 minutes because I realised I was being a bit wishful there. But thanks. That was great shares as well around that. So thanks, Claire. Paddy, were you number 2?
All
I was
right.
actually number 2.
Oh, sorry, Ross.
Russ
Patty
is
can
2.
go if she'd like.
No, please, Russ.
You just dropped down to the bottom corner of my screen, Ross, for some reason.
I don't know why. All right, so what I'm building, you guys, is a training or an untraining that shifts the way people think about network marketing and how they do it. That's what Success by Design has been about for 30 years. What I haven't done a good job of is I haven't done a good job of monetizing that idea. Now I've tried lots of different ways. I've got a structure called the Millionaires by Design Club that monetizes the training and really essentially gives it away, because it's not so much about how much money it makes. I want the training to make a difference for people in whatever they're doing. So that's the communication. I'm always looking for ways to do that essentially better. Now, here's the rub. For me, my passion is actually doing it, is actually the untraining itself, because I feel like I have a great passion for it. I invented it, so to speak. So I like to actually do it. And I've noticed that when I do it, it's abstract in a sense, because people love it and they get it, but they don't learn how to apply it because it's so abstract. So one way what I've started to do is I've started to do hands-on training that helps people understand how to apply it to whatever it is they're doing in the moment, whatever their strategic alliance is of choice. So, that conversation has now gone into something with Noble Goldman, where we're figuring out, out of a meeting with Mark, and we're figuring out how to actually get me some exposure in the Noble Goldman community. But as I say, I'm really here to serve everyone on this call, everyone that's in the community. And I'm looking for partnership for people that will say, this is how you can help me. This is how you can help me. And this is what we're willing to do in return. We're willing to promote your training. We're willing to have you on as a guest. We're willing to do this. And the structure for monetization itself will present itself through those ideas. So I didn't do a very good job of explaining that, I don't think, but do you understand kind of where I am and the dilemma that is?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
great, sure. I know what you mean around the program, buddy. We'll expand on that shortly. Paddy, hope you don't mind. Cheryl just has to leave shortly, so yeah.
For sure.
Thanks, Patty. I probably am similar as to what Glenn was saying earlier about obviously a bit of juggling and time management and things at the moment. Obviously, I've not got as many businesses on the go, but I have just actually stepped into something new this last week. So I'm trying to get my head around that before I make a conscious push on building that one. And obviously we still have a NAGIC there as well. So yeah, just juggling that alongside the Noble Goldman, making sure I'm following the right steps as we've obviously discussed, building that communication and relationship with the candidates that I've got on board so far, trying to nail them to calls, because I've got candidates on there who have become free members, but it's trying to actually get them onto either the introduction call or obviously one of our foundation calls, which is proven a bit difficult at the moment. But yeah, just time management, getting my head around new things, new ideas, and trying to obviously allow time for family and for myself as well, because I'm kind of letting that slide again. Yeah, Dad's telling me off there, slap on the wrist.
Thanks for sharing, Cheryl. And well under time as well, I might add.
Thank you.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that you can go for longer, Ricky Smith, by the way. Paddy, yeah.
All right, I'll go now. And Ricky, I think you're at the end. So if we all chew up an extra minute, there'll be no time for you. You want to go now? Just kidding. All right, so I can be really basically brief. I can echo what Glenn said and what Cheryl said. I think that is the nature of people like us who are attracted to multiple streams of income, who have multiple interests, are going to have that challenge of making it all make sense, being able to deliver the goods in the time that we have available, and also to be succinct in our messages. At least that's one of my challenges. As I wear different hats, some of the people who know me is like, what is she going to say today? And that's not necessarily a good thing, because people then are confused about what I really bring to the marketplace. So with multiple endeavors, one of the things somebody has helped me to figure out is how to segment them so they do make sense, first to my own head, and second to when I'm organizing email lists or et cetera, who has shown what interest. Then I really channel my conversations to each of those different areas rather than have it be one big jumble. So I'm looking for solutions. I think I have an idea to try at least. But my challenge again goes back to what Cheryl said about time. Even if I figure out how to present these, I have a part-time job in addition to multiple streams of income and family and all that. So it really is, time to sleep, time to be lucid. Last week, I apologize, I was sort of a little sleepy on our call because by the time we get off, it's like 11:30 or 11:45, and I wasn't at my best. So it's a matter of being alert, being ready, and then delivering the goods. It's my challenge.
Yeah, great share there, Paddy. Thank you. Thank you for that. I think it's me now. So my whole focus really from a point of business over the past 5 years has been building my NAGIC business, as some of you have known, and built a very solid brand around that. And last year spent the whole of the year building a training platform for eNAGIC distributors, certainly my own downline, but more so always knowing that I was going to sell that, always knowing that I was actually going to leverage that. And I sold it back earlier this year into another program. So I receive a residual income from that, which when I did that, I actually had a conversation with myself where I said, what now? And that's when Noble Goldman literally came into me. It's like a conversation with myself and the universe. It's like, now time to look at Noble Goldman. So when I looked into Noble Goldman, it made sense to me from the angle of one of my mentors said, you need to focus on one thing. So I helped launch a company a couple of years back, and we had great success launching it. But the problem was that when I spoke to him, he said, you need to be the guy doing Enagic, and your business partner needs to be focused on that one, because where your energy goes, it flows. And when I stepped into Noble Goldman, I realized that I couldn't keep pushing Enagic on the outside and expect to build Noble Goldman and do the training within the other system and do whatever else I've got accounts for. So it's get clear on where does my energy need to be to maximize everything as a whole. And that's where Noble Goldman is. So my biggest challenge has actually been, how do I now create the, I know I've only got a few seconds left. How do I create a clear stream where I'm showing up with my authentic self, showing my creativity that helps me connect with those people who I believe we're going to get value from being a part of Noble Goldman. And therefore, if a later date they wish to buy into Enagic or whatever it is, then great. But they are part of what I'm doing in regards to impacting the world, because the focus is to impact the lives of people around the world, not to just sell water machines. So that's where my biggest challenge was, to get clear and share that creativity of myself with other people to help them see the value of NG.
That's a really good share, Martin.
Thank you. Who's after me?
Yes,
Karen.
I'm next on the hot seat here. Well, as far as business goes, Martin, I'm kind of in the same position that you were, in that I found myself really chasing too many rabbits, and business-wise. Now I'm in the midst of moving, remodeling a home, and getting my current home listed. So we threw a few more sticks on the fire. But I had to kind of reel back, because I was, doing this, and a whole lot of nothing felt like it was getting done. But yet I'm pushing forward every day. So what I've done recently is I'm a ClickBank affiliate marketer. I'm new to that, so I had to learn all of these industries and whatnot. I'm new to all of this here. I just did my GoldStar last month, and the 7th of July, I'm doing starting my 90 days, so that's cool. So I kind of refocused. ClickBank feeds me. Noble Goldman will take care of my future. So I've gotten to a point where I'm comfortable with my affiliate marketing right now. And so I'm starting to put a little more focus into the Noble Goldman. So, and like everybody else, it's a timing thing. Like I said, in the meantime, I'm moving 3 hours from here. So I'm back and forth between houses and whatnot. And so it's been really crazy. I'm hoping by the end of July, life settles down and then I can continue to focus. But I'm happy with where I am, because like you said, I picked a focus, I made my decision, and I'm pushing forward with it and giving it as much time as I can every day. It's a lot of balls in the air right now. So
great share,
that's
Karen.
it.
Right on
Thank you.
time as well. Beautiful. Corey.
Hey guys, I've quite a few things going on as well. So I have a paint business I bought 10 years ago, which doesn't really need, it's just residual income basically. I pick and pack and send orders, and that's kind of, it's at the point where it needs to be. But what I've realized over the last few weeks is that I have an enormous ability to build wholesale accounts. So I've just reached out to a ketone company that's launching a retail business in Australia about becoming the wholesale for their brand, but not, I want to just be the face of it and not necessarily be shipping and et cetera, et cetera. So I want to set up a drop ship kind of programming with them, so I don't have to handle any product. I don't mind if the margins are a little bit lower, but I know that once those relationships are built initially, that there'll be a stream of income that kind of just follows on from that, with a little bit of maintenance of those relationships. And I guess outside of that, I work part-time in a number of different areas. It's only like 15 hours a week in the gym, but it's all in line with kind of what my passion is. I guess where I'm actually stuck is I want to develop. I've been developing a program called Flight Circles. So one of my gifts is to hold circles and space for people. I do that really well. So I want to create a concept for mining companies where FIFO workers at the airport will come and sit in a circle for 45 minutes to an hour before they fly out. And it's just about working out how to brand that, how to connect into them. So I'm really just like at the junior phase of that. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm kind of stuck at the moment in that space.
Yeah, that's a powerful one, mate, especially with knowing what it's like being at the airport before you fly out. Love to be a part of that and helping you with that one.
Yeah, that's the feedback I get from everyone I speak to about it. It's an amazing idea, but when I've kind of spoke to mining companies about it, they're reluctant to pull the trigger, right? So it's about how do I meet the right people and pull the right triggers in that space.
Yeah.
I'll catch up with you later, Corey. We've been doing some work for a couple of the health companies working for the mining companies on some COVID-19 testing. So I'll catch up with you later on. I've got a couple of people that may or may not help you, but just remind me.
Who was next? Is it Ricky? All right, well, we've got half an hour, Ricky, so go on.
Great. Okay. Just relax, guys. Yeah, Corey, that's the beauty of the mastermind thing. Just quickly, that we could even mastermind that at a later date or at some point in the future, where we can maybe all throw our tuppence worth in there to try and help you out on that one, give you some clear direction. Yeah, like everyone else, we've all got, or most of us have got our fingers in a few pies, and we've got a few different business interests, and often it can get confusing. I think coming back to what Glenn said about lanes, it just made me think about swimmers, you know. There's 8 lanes in a pool, and you could swim in whichever lane you're selecting that day, but you can't swim in them all at the one time. So I guess, otherwise there's going to be a crash. But I guess it's picking a lane, you know. In other words, if it's businesses, you've got multiple businesses, pick one that day, that week, that month, whatever, focus on that one to get it to a point where it's beginning to get traction. And then by all means, park that one for a period, a day, a week, a month, whatever, and move on to the next one, move into the next lane, or move into the next car and take that to where it needs to go to get to the next step. So for me, it's just, I've begun to understand that. I think that works better for me. Yes, it's great to have all these multiple interests and stuff, but if you try to do them all in a one day, you'll do absolutely nothing. So pick one, drive that one, park it up, then jump into the next one.
Yeah, great share there, mate. And I'm actually stunned. I'm just going to show everyone, look at that. There's over 30 seconds left on the clock. Bloody hell.
I thought I was going to have to love you and leave you, Dad, but managed to cram it in there.
Well done. Yeah, great shares, everyone. Was there anything that was coming up for anybody? We've a few of us have spoke around many bouncing balls, but is there anything that's coming up for anybody that they would like to expand on what they've said or somebody else has said? Or they've noticed how they could add value to somebody else?
Well, why doesn't Corey give us a wee bit more information on his mining stroke airport thing, and maybe we could kind of bounce a few ideas off of that once we get a better understanding.
Cool. So
you're open to it, Corey?
Yeah, so there's a few layers to the concept, basically. The concept is to go and have circles with men before they fly out to work, and then to run them for a block of 10 periods. So it might be, depending on what their program is, it might be every 3 weeks essentially, or every 4 weeks, depending on the program. But the goal is to have a conversation with men about just letting them express what they're feeling about going to site, and about what their experience is with that, but also having a conversation about what is their biggest struggle with coming back home afterwards. And there's obviously laying in like health, wealth, psychological, emotional well-being, et cetera, into that programming. So it's not just go and tell us how you feel, but it's also talking about what it takes. So a little bit like this, there'll be some accountability that will be rolled into that. And then there's obviously laying in like health, wealth, psychological, emotional well-being, et cetera, into that. And then there would also be connecting up with the mothers with a female facilitator and having conversations with them about what the men are experiencing on site and what they're experiencing at home, and then merging those two together. So explaining to a wife that potentially when a husband's come back from a mine site, that he could have been on night shift and therefore he's been up for 36 hours and he's not really functioning, and he might need an opportunity to be able to gain 12 hours of sleep before he gets back to being able to service the family, rather than coming straight back from what is a stressful situation but deemed to be not stressful from the people who are at home. Everyone's got a perception of what the alternative is. And then potentially there's an offering of like counselling for the families together to have a conversation around, okay, what's working in FIFO, what's not working, and building strong frameworks around how they can maintain the best of both worlds, essentially. That's kind of the crux of what I'm really trying to achieve. So in terms of branding, like the brand that keeps coming up for me when I sit with it is Flight Circle. So it'd be held at an airport essentially before the guys are flying out, because that is the ultimate time to kind of catch them. Like I did some work in Laverton, FIFO, but I was going up to work with Aboriginal kids. So I would walk in the airport lit up like a Christmas tree because I'm going away to do what makes my heart sing. And walking into that space, it was so compressed and depressed. And I just think there's a real opportunity to lift the energy of the people in that space. Just to make them feel good. And I've been reluctant to go do it for free because people have said to me, just go do it for free. But I think that mining companies have deep pockets and there's an opportunity to build ultimately a big business that could be purchased by someone else down the track. Would be the vision of it, like someone who's got bigger, deeper pockets that could really take this and turn it into a national, international kind of model ultimately.
So, Corey, what's your biggest obstacle, do you feel, right now?
My biggest obstacle is that mining companies are paying lip service to mental health still in the current climate, even more so to the point that as soon as COVID came on board, it was, don't call us. And when I've given prices to people, they've been like, no, there's no way we're paying that, and it hasn't been like, I think $5,000 for a 10 experiences is not expensive at all, and that wouldn't be inclusive of talking to the mothers. That would be just talking to the men at the airport. So $500 per session for a 60 to 90 minute session, is not exorbitant if you're holding a space for kind of 20 men at a time, really. So, and that would probably just escalate from there, really. But yeah, they've just scoffed at the price. But I think it's just some cultural challenges to overcome in that space still, really.
How are you connecting with the decision maker effectively? And first of all, who is that decision maker within that mining company? And how do you get to them? How do you make that connection with the decision maker?
Yeah, they kind of have mental health teams, I guess. To be honest, I've only done this once, right? This is a brand new concept. I've sat with it for probably 9 months, and I speak to lots of people about it, and I plant seeds, but I haven't really taken action on it, if I'm really honest. I've spoken to an organisation that services Fortescue, and initially they said, look, we don't want you to run flight circles. We want you to come to site and run like a 1-day program, which I said, no worries. I gave them a price, which was $3,600 for 2 guys to go up for a day, and radio silence as soon as I gave them the figure, So it was like $1,700 each for the day to fly up, fly back. And that included an overnighter, so we could kind of catch the morning shift and the night shift. So it was really a full-on day of service. And then they just shut the door essentially. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at. Like I really need to be speaking to there's a couple of different layers where you have organisations that provide like mental health services to organisations, but they're not being, I can't even think of the terminology. You might know the name, Martin, you have an organisation that provides mental health support, et cetera, to an organisation, but that's not being utilised. So it's kind of creating an inflow between the two. So I provide this service here, which then will get your men or women to engage with the support services you have available within the organisation. So it's there's lots of moving balls to it, and I'm not really I think there's different people, but it's really the health and safety people that I need to. You can get them on board, right? But then when it goes to CEO, they just shut it down. And Lockie's had the same problem with trying to get his stuff up on the mine sites, right? Is that the CEOs, they don't want to pay for mental health, because that would be admitting that there's a challenge in that space. So I think I need to pitch it differently other than mental health. How do we create more productivity? How do we create, even though really if we improve people's mental health, we all know that they will perform better on site, less likely to wreck machinery, et cetera, et cetera.
One of the things, so for those of you who don't know, I used to work in the mining industry, and I was one of the health coaches there. And I was actually, there was 3 departments. There was the sports, there was a sports group, there was the health group, and then there's the events group. And I was part of the health team, and I was the team leader of that team. And I'm not saying this to impress at all. I'm saying it from the angle of I had direct communication with management, and we had a calendar every year. And every year that calendar was filled with all the areas that were relevant to health across the year, and mental health being, from memory, October. And in that calendar, we had a week devoted to mental health. So we had to do a talk, we had to do things in the gym. And I remember contacting Beyond Blue, who are an organisation here, and they sent through a stand and all the booklets and pamphlets and so on. And I was the one who was in charge of all of that. Now, when that week ended, I refused to take the stand down, because there was books and pamphlets being taken, and I was continuously every day restocking it. And they said to me, it needs to come down because it's not World Mental Health Week or Mental Health Week anymore. And I said, but people are still taking the books. They are taking the pamphlets. If people are taking them, then they obviously want to read that information. Well, it doesn't fit in with our schedule. So straight away, it's not about people's mental health. It's about being seen that we are doing something, but it's not really that important. And I know this because when I went through my second mental breakdown on site, they basically, when I got back to site, they said, nothing to do with us. Even though I wrote a 9-page report that was demanded by HR, that they accepted, and I already had shared that with some of my work colleagues, and they made all the changes that I put in that document and denied that any of it took place. So it's what fits into their schedule. Now, what I feel, Corey, with what you're saying, and I absolutely love what your vision is with it, is that to get them to make the decision, they are going to need the people to say, we want this, rather than Corey coming and saying, I believe the people need this. So together, that kind of, it's not exhibition, but, you know, when people come together and they with their placards and stuff, I've forgotten the word, but they're making, pardon?
Demand.
Yeah, they're making a demand that we enjoy
demand.
We are getting value from this, even if you have to do it for free, just to get things going for people to step up and go, hey, we want this. Yeah. Make it happen. They're telling their supervisors, who are then telling their managers, that then it gets back to the directors. That might be the only way. Sorry, Glenn, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm muted because we had one of the machines running in the background. Denise was just there. Yeah, Corey, totally agree with where you're coming from. I've also worked in the mining industry. I worked for Rio, left in 2016. I was in corporate roles. I worked in the communities division. Now I'm just thinking there's probably people that I did know that are possibly still around, either in that division or in sort of regional areas in the community participation area, that would definitely listen to you. But every mining company every company is different in their structure anyway, and every 6 months or 1 year they change their structure. So it is getting that person, one, to get on the phone or see you face to face. Then it is, you're right, getting their manager and their general manager. But some of the general managers that I worked for were fantastic. Unfortunately, they're no longer there for whatever reasons, I don't know. But there's got to be people within there. I know some of the structure at FMG has changed recently. But so another one of my businesses is private airport transfers and chauffeur driving. So, I'm getting guys tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, husband-wife team are going to drive them for an hour, and they'll have the radio on, but they won't talk. And I know, because they're down into that, we're away for 2 weeks. And they're lucky, they're a husband and wife team, and they're flying off to Cloudbreak or somewhere in one of the mines up there. And I know they're away for, I think, only 8 days this time. So there is a lot out there. Every guy that I moved the guy yesterday, he's up to Barrow Island for 4 weeks. And he goes away quite chipper, and I'll pick you up in 4 weeks' time, and he's like down so bad. So, and everybody I speak to in the car, they are going away again. And Corey, I think you also know Liam Sorrell. I was chatting with Liam the other day about this and what he's doing in his organisation about trying to raise this awareness as well, where he's based. And you do need that two kind of sides of the conversation. As you say, there's the guy comes home and the wife goes, great, you're back. Here's child. I'm going out with mates. Or here, fix the roof, fix the plumbing fixes, and they come home and they get bombarded with this. But there's also, certainly whoever's at home, whether it be the girl flies out or the boy flies out, whoever's at home is dealing with home life and everything else that goes along with it. Since I haven't been sitting behind a desk for the last 4 years, I'm sort of running the house now because Denise is in here running the business. So it's a big role change for us, and I'm slowly getting used to it. But yeah, there is that. You need to have that meeting conversation, because there's been so much upheaval in the mining industry and those sort of roles recently, where I'm sure there's been an acceleration in sort of separation and divorce rate because of it all the time. So what you're doing is a great idea, and I've got so many notes there, and I'd love to catch up with you about people we could possibly talk to at angles that you may or may not have tried, and we'll take that offline some other time with anyone else for sure.
Yeah, to be honest, I've been in this fear state for so long, and Martin knows my story around my PTSD and stuff, and I really just feel that I've healed from that in the last few months, to be honest. So I've started to get more capacity back, more brain capacity, more capacity in everything, which has been really interesting for me, because I've kind of had to really, like a few weeks ago, I took on too much, which I did deliberately as a test to go, okay, I want to take on too much and see how much I can handle in a week. And then I crashed on Friday. So I knew, okay, next time I need to kind of go, okay, these are the boundaries. I can do this, but I can't do that. So I'm really mindful that while I believe I'm on top of my PTSD, I can very easily unravel. So I'm kind of just being really conscious of that. So so I'm really just stepping into my power, I guess, more and more so of who I've been. I guess I was this really angry, arrogant asshole was the 3 words that my wife would have used to describe me. And, now it's kind, caring and loving, but that shift has been, there's been this fear that if I go back to being this guy who makes money, this guy who's successful in life, that I'll be this angry, arrogant asshole. So it's really just recently that I've let go of that fear, let go of that luggage. Like I've been in this state of surrender, and it's just fallen away recently. So I felt like I can kind of step back into this space of building an income, So not that I even need money, but it's just I just feel like there's an exchange of energy that's, the more I speak about it with people, there's an exchange of energy that needs to be present. So yeah.
Yeah, I met Martin about 3 or 4 years ago, and I would have been that angry when I met him. I think I have shifted miles away from that now, where, yeah, look, I could do with money, but at the same time, I feel sort of deep down that I'm here more to actually help people and do something about that. The reason I left the mining company was, I believe, it was a redundancy, but they got me back into the office after being off for nearly 3 months with mental health issues. I was back in the office for a month and then I got made redundant. I met Martin about similar stories, and I've decided to park it up, left it alone. You know, got away from that, and I've changed completely. So yeah, I'm not gone through the same as you, but I certainly empathise with you there for sure.
Corey, I would just like to add to that before we wind up. I'm going to have to jump off shortly, but I would just like to say that in another, on Declan's mastermind, which I participate in every Tuesday, but recently in some of the masterminds, we all had a wee discussion each week about a different member's business and the challenges that we're having. And what we did was we brought it up on the mastermind, just like we're talking about your challenges just now here, Corey. And then in that week that followed, that person reached out individually to each of the members of the mastermind group to have a one-on-one. And what the guys found was that they've having that one-on-one, because it's one thing talking about it now and we kind of touch on it for a few minutes and then it kind of fritters away and disappears. But I think everybody that's on this call, or certainly most of us, will have something that could be a positive contribution to help you move forward and overcome these obstacles. So it might be in your interest time-wise to maybe reach out to the individuals through Martin and maybe organise that, a wee chit-chat, Zoom call, whatever, find out a wee bit more, probe it a bit further, and like say Patty or Russ or Glenn or myself or Karen or whoever can just maybe give you a few ideas that may or may not just help you unblock the blockage, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great idea. And it's a few things you mentioned there, Corey, as well. I remember when you and I connected around Noble Goldman stuff, and I was like, what? Why is Corey having such a barrier around this? Because I only saw it being as a blessing to help you with your incredible work you're doing. And it's funny how you mentioned there, especially the money side of it, and going back to being that asshole. And it's that, like you said, that fear of, will I go back to being that person? But at the same time, you understand what you are like. You're aware of what you are like, and therefore, you know, there's people who have money and they're absolutely beautiful. They're incredible beings. They're not, you know, you have money and you're an incredible being. You know, you said that you don't have to worry about it, but also it's that energy exchange of, whilst I was listening to a few things that were being said today, I was thinking around how much good can come from it. I was at an open day at the weekend, and the guy I think you might know him, Davey, he's from Newcastle in England. Can't think of his last name right now, but he's opened up a wellness centre. And I was looking around this wellness centre. It's absolutely beautiful. The energy, the images that are in there, all the artwork they've put in this huge big warehouse at the back where they do their trainings. And I'm like, this costs money to create this space where people can come to. So therefore, we need that energy exchange to continue to grow and develop. And knowing that he's only going to be able to get, let's say, 100 people in there. But if each of those brought one person that needs to be helped, all of a sudden he needs a bigger space, which costs more money. And therefore that money is allowing us to continue to do our work on a greater scale. And that's why I don't have, it's not about the money from the point of buying the mansion and the Lamborghini and the boat and all that kind of stuff. And there's no judgment there. It's about this energy exchange that the universe is giving me is an exchange of the value that I'm providing now, but also the value that I'll be able to provide because I'm clear on the impact that I'm here to make in the world. And that to me is the way that I view it. But sometimes I feel it's hard to get it across to people. It's a challenge to get it across to people when we see it so clearly and we feel it so clearly, and we're like, and people have the barriers because of past experiences, or maybe a perception, a judgment on what other people are like around them from what they've seen of, in this case, money. And there's one thing that I'll also bring up that I don't know whether you've worked through this or not. You say my PTSD, and what I found with a lot of the work that I've done, that's the attachment. So the PTSD is letting go of it. So I don't know if you've done around that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the way that the way that I frame it is that I used to say I suffer from PTSD, and now I say I live with PTSD. So I think that's kind of similar. It's just, yeah. So I really do. I don't empower it at all. I'm aware of it, and I know when I have experiences with it. And to be honest, it could be just the fact that, and sometimes it's comparison, right? I look at where I was, and then I go, I just did 40 hours this week, and that was too much. Like, when I used to work 80 hours, so it's just around, 100% I agree with what you're saying there. Like, I don't think I am attached to it. I think it's just something that I have an awareness of. And sometimes it could just be, everyone's got different capacities at different times of their life, I guess. Something I heard during the week was David Yarra speaking with Tim Ferriss. So he's an artist, right? And he's not an artist, he's a photographer. And he spent $25,000 getting a photo of a shark attacking a seal at a certain time of day out in the middle of nowhere, basically. And he got paid $17,000 from that from a newspaper to publish that article. And then someone rang him up and said, "My name's Jaws. I want to buy the artwork. How much is it?" And the guy said it's $10,000. And that guy bought 3 of them. So he come to realize that there's enormous value. A, he realized he undervalued the artwork, and B, that there's enormous value in being unique and to not just do the same thing. And I guess that's what this flight circus is about for me. Like, I could just keep plodding along and doing the same stuff that I'm doing, or I can step in and do something that's never been tried before outside the realm of normal thinking and really step into that. So that's kind of where my mindset is at with this flight circle and FIFO circle stuff.
Great shares, buddy. I'm conscious of the time. We've got 4 minutes to go. Now, Corey, are you open to connecting with each member in the and just seeing if they'll be kind enough to give you maybe 15 minutes of the time, half an hour of the time to have a chat?
Yeah, anyone who wants to connect in, absolutely, that would be great.
Anybody who wants to connect with Corey direct, just connect with Corey. One of the things that I said that I'd really like to count from an accountability task is us doing some work individually on with an audio. So the plan is going to be to go through an audio book over time, and one that's really resonating with me right now, that is helping me see things so much clearer in my own life, but also externally and with the people I'm connecting with, is via the audio of Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Has anybody read the book or listened to the audio? Yeah. I have to say I can't get enough of this right now. It's brought so much clarity, especially around the book Think and Grow Rich. Is anybody unaware of the book? Or
I've never heard of it.
Well, just as a quick overview, when Think and Grow Rich was published in 1937, the next book to be published was Outwitting the Devil, but Napoleon's wife said there is no way that can be released whilst she is alive. Napoleon passed before his wife, and she spoke to her nephew, who was the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and said, "This book cannot be released whilst I'm alive. But once I pass, you can release it," because of the fear around the judgment and what it was going to cause because of people would attach it as in the devil to a religious side, and attacking the educational system and everything. Well, when it's so, a lot of people that I speak to, especially around Napoleon Hill work, they say it's the best book he wrote. Like, that's the power of it, especially when we were able to relate and see about talking about the devil within us, as in procrastination and the way the devil sets us up, not from a religious context as well, to be clearly aware.
Devil's in the detail.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put into the group the first chapter for us to listen to, which is about 45 minutes, an hour max. And we'll listen to that and we'll see what we get from it. Each chapter takes us on to the next part. I tell you right now, chapter 4 will blow your bloody mind. But to get the foundation of it, it will tie a lot of things in together within our lives, as well as how we communicate with people. In this case, as you're saying there, Corey, around shifting through any barriers that are being put up with companies. It's an incredible audio that I'm getting a lot of value from right now. So that's going to be the accountability task that I'm going to set, is for us to go through that. Let me just put it into the group, get it edited. If you choose to carry on listening to the whole thing, you can do, but I'm just going to give you chapter 1 so that people aren't going, oh, I haven't got the time for an 8-hour audio or 6 hours, whatever it is. Chapter 1, we'll just do that. We'll discuss it and we'll go from there. That sound fair?
Yeah, man.
I just wanted to touch real quick on that book. For those of you not familiar with it, it brings so much clarity to you. It's unbelievable. It was, I listened to the audio. I actually ended up listening to the whole book in one sitting because I kind of got hooked on it. And then I had downloaded the book itself, but it opened my eyes up to so many things, and in many ways served as a gentle reminder of bad habits and the necessity to clean them up immediately. So it's really a tremendous book. I think everybody here, you guys are going to love this book, and you're going to get so much out of it. I too think that it's his best book. And I've done Think and Grow Rich. I think I've read it like 5 or 6 times, but this book, the first time I read it, it resonated with me immediately. And it's going to be a great read. It's going to be great. You guys are going to love it.
I just have to share with you all as well, and thanks for that, Karen. It was beautifully put. The first time I listened to the audio, I did not get it. I didn't enjoy it at all. I really didn't. But I've never felt so connected and understanding right where I am in this moment. So, yeah, open mind. Okay, guys, anything anybody wants to talk about before we just run off or just cover?
No.
All good?
Corey had something.
No, I was just saying goodbye.
Oh.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for your time and your value shared. And I'm glad we've managed to keep it to an hour this time. So I look forward I will upload this into the group as always, and I'll get on to making sure that the first chapter's there for you to all access. And if you want to go and watch the whole thing or listen to the whole thing, you can do. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Have a wonderful
Thank
week.
you, everyone. Have a tremendous
Have a
week.
Have a great day, guys.
Bye.
Catch you all very soon.
Thanks, Corey.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.